I'm going to do something I've never done before. I'm going to give you the real skinny about how this worked, about how you lost trillions of dollars at the hands of short sellers. And by the way, the short sellers never agreed they did this. What, are they going to put themselves in front of the kangaroo court? But let me tell you how it's done. Let me tell you exactly how the shorts accomplished this feat of destroying well-run firms in the name of profits for their wealthy clients, and now why that anti-capitalist game is at last over. At least when it comes to the banks. Now, you know, I searched the English language for a term that conveys what the shorts were doing, and I come up short. The best I can summon is to take out my German dictionary and use a German term for a decisive battle of encirclement and annihilation, because that was the shorts' plan, and it's called a KESSELSCHLACHT. And it has worked continuously against all of the banks and brokers that you keep your money in or that you may own or that run your mutual funds or sell your insurance. A KESSELSCHLACHT against you. Here's how this battle of annihilation and encirclement worked, how the short gravy train operated. If you were a short seller, you would pick a financial, any financial, pick one out of a hat. You know, one that requires trust and confidence. And then you would target it and destroy it and encircle it with rumors and articles and anything else you needed to instill panic. And we all knew this was going on. Government knew it was going on. Government kind of liked it. Oh, they didn't do anything about it. I saw it happen to every one of the outfits that received government protection last night. For example, out of whole cloth, let's just say, hypothetically, you decided to operate on State Street. That was one that got protection, to knock it down. Make a little money knocking State Street, stamping it down like it's like a bug, okay? It was done on many occasions, by the way. Perhaps why it merited the protection racket. First, the shorts, acting, of course, collectively with the same mindset, would put down, say, $25 million to buy credit default swaps. Bear with me. I don't mean to talk over your head. I didn't know what they were either. That's betting against State Street's debt, its bonds. Swaps are, let's speak in English, because everyone understands this. They're basically life insurance policies on debt. But unlike life insurance, anybody can take out a policy, not a loving beneficiary. I mean, for instance, let's say you're planning to murder the institution you're buying swaps for. That's right. Think of it this way. This will be a good way to get it. You hate your neighbor. Well, I'm not too keen on mine. Oh, no, that's all right. I take that back. You hate your neighbor. You buy fire insurance on the neighbor's house. And then you set the house on fire, which works in this metaphor because financial arson's legal in this game thanks to our SEC, which blesses it. And you make hay while State Street's house burns. Thanks, SEC. It's totally legal. Then short sellers buy as many put contracts, put options, that allow them to profit if a stock goes down as they were allowed to. SEC loves that game, too. After they push the stock down with endless selling of shares they don't own or didn't even bother to borrow, again, only until very recently, a practice that Christopher Cox, the SEC guy, loved. And his pro-short selling SEC said, 2 thumbs up to. After the first shorts pushed the stock down big and noisily, all of their like-minded short-selling friends would join us in a gigantic bear raid blessed by the government. It was an Ursa Major Tupperware party. Again, in this completely hypothetical situation. Once they got the stock going downhill, they'd buy another set of swaps, credit default swaps, paying a higher price than before. Show people that things had really deteriorated. The cost of the insurance didn't matter, even if they paid up, because they knew they were going to win, and these contracts are unregulated anyway because of the SEC. The shorts, what did they want to do? They wanted to create panic. Good job! SEC endorsed panic! Then they call the media to talk about how everyone's pulling their money out of the institutions, be it State Street, Bank of New York, Goldman Sachs, prime brokers, didn't matter. And how the credit default swaps are spiking huge. So the media then went out and reported a really juicy story, one that the company's helpless to refute, of course, because the problem's caused by the short sellers themselves, not by the core business. And the stock gets slammed again. Other hedge funds hear about it. They'd short the stock down further. Hey, I'm hearing real bad things. State Street, short some. Short 500 million shares of State Street. Take it down to 5. That's the kind of nonsense that goes on. Then the longs would panic, and the spineless, helpless ratings agencies like Moody's and Standard & Poor's, they too would panic, and they would furiously downgrade State Street's debt. Well, this, again, hypothetical. The debt that the shorts had bought the insurance on, making that insurance more valuable than ever. Then the real clients of the bank, Oh my God, they'd be so frightened. They would sell. Because they didn't want to be caught dead in a company that their clients had read and heard about was in trouble. The clueless credit ratings agencies just figure out that, well, where there's smoke, there's got to be fire, right? Or why else would the stock be down in the first place? They, too, are the unwitting agents of the short sellers. Then the remaining clients pull their money out, the banks pull their credit lines, and that's really all she wrote for whatever institution they attacked. Hey, by the way, that's how Morgan Stanley legally almost went out of business last Friday with the government holding off that infusion of capital from the Japanese, waiting for antitrust clearance as they're merging every bank in the world. They suddenly have antitrust concerns. Hey, believe me, check out Morgan Stanley. It was at 7 because of the KESSELSCHLACT last Friday. It was a wonderfully executed short-selling KESSELSCHLACT. It got the SEC seal of approval. Even says CEO John Mack, nice guy, trying so hard to save his firm. Silly him. Trying to negotiate a lifeline with the Japanese. The shorts almost cut that lifeline. Mack knew it. But the regulators didn't really understand it. And we literally came within 48 hours of the elimination of a company that I actually think is pretty good, Morgan Stanley. I own it for my trust. I don't know, seemed like a legitimate outfit. What a win that would have been for the bad guys. I guess the SEC would have loved that, too. The SEC's earlier move to ban short selling was just stupid. It didn't solve the chief problem, the need for capital, unlimited capital, and insurance on the debt that destroyed the credit default nonsense that made the short so successful. After all, you can't bet against debt insured by the U.S. government. That's just a waste of short sellers' money. That's why the new plan might work. It taps into the newest, greatest sovereign fund out there, the sovereign fund of the United States of America, which coincidentally perhaps doesn't want Morgan Stanley to go out of business, or Goldman. The government doesn't want J.P. Morgan to go out of business. State Street, they want him to survive. Someone better tell the SEC. Oh, man, I don't know, maybe don't wake them up. Anyway, because the sovereign fund insures bank debt and gives the banks lending firepower in return for a good housekeeping seal of solvency, the principal tool of encirclement is now busted. The bear raids will be stopped, and something that helped cause the first Great Depression has now been put behind us, making the Great Depression Part 2 a lot less likely. Do you know I wish I were being facetious about anything in this story? Do you know what a travesty is going on in this country? Unwittingly, not known by President Bush, who was not sophisticated enough to understand it, not known by Treasury, who should have, because that guy worked at Goldman Sachs, completely unknown by Ben Princeton Bernanke, who's never seen what it's like to destroy a company. And Christopher Cox, well, hands off, Cox. Hey, listen, the longs and the shorts, they're equal. There is no interest to protect here. Yeah, bottom line, it's time for the shorts to cover and move on from the financials. Go into the autos, go into the industrials, go do whatever the heck you want. Because their era of anti-capital allocation is at last over. The financials are no longer walking bullseyes. And a large-scale banking collapse followed by a second Great Depression is off the table. All because the European socialists broke the cycle that's made the shorts so much money and brought so many banks close to destruction. Oh, and hey, it only cost them $750 billion, the U.S. government, to figure out something I would have told them was going on for a year and a half now. My show's for free.